Welcome to Gold Derby's Film Shorts panel. I'm Senior Editor Denton Davidson, and I'm joined by an impressive lineup of directors and producers representing live action, animated, and documentary shorts. Each of your films has been shortlisted for the upcoming Oscars. With me are Nils Keller for Almost Home, Peter Baynton for The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, Doug Blush for The Elephant Whisperers, and Sharon Liese for The Flagmakers. Round of applause for everyone who made the Oscar shortlist. And thanks so much for joining this panel today. You know, each of your films is so unique, but they're all shorts. And I just want to start by asking, what do you enjoy the most about the art of short filmmaking? And how did you decide that the film you made in particular that we're discussing would be a short film versus feature length, if you had that choice? Nils, I'll start with you.
Yeah, like coming from a student background where it's maybe more common to just do shorts because you don't have the money or you don't get to choose or it's more normal. It was maybe more natural to do a short, and obviously because it was a sci-fi film, it had to be a short. But what I really love about shorts, also watching shorts, it's that this is the very unique format where you don't have to follow like the hero's journey or anything, but you really can just think about the thing you want to tell and have like a slice of life. And it's yeah, you can approach it from different angles and can be very free if you want to. So I think that's a great thing about shorts.
Peter, how about for you with, you know, an animated short film, and how do you know that this film is going to be right for, you know, this amount of time?
Well, I mean, with our film, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, it was always conceived of as a short film, something of a sort of a TV special length type thing. So that wasn't a decision that that I had to make, certainly. But I think that in that particular case, do you know what? It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think it perfectly well could become a feature length kind of story, but it would take sort of a development, and I think it would require going somewhere else. You know, and I think the short film format just more instinctively and naturally sort of fits with the original work, the book, I guess.
Doug, what do you like about the short filmmaking process, and how did you decide? Because I mean, we've mentioned that Kartiki, the director of your film, was there for years. So how do you then pare that down into, you know, 40 minutes or so?
Right. It's a huge question for us documentary filmmakers, because we tend to have enough footage, even with a short, to make a feature, because our ratios, and I'm sure Sharon has the same story, your ratio of shooting is massive. I mean, you know, the amount of footage, you might have 300 hours. We had 300 hours on Elephant Whisperers, and of that, you could easily construct, you know, a physical length of a feature. But I got to say, I love shorts. I love shorts. I try to see as many shorts as I can when I'm at film festivals. I go to shorts compendiums and shorts programs. And I love them because they're, by form, they have to tell a story really coherently. They have to really get down to what the story's about. And a great short feels like, it's kind of like reading a great short story. It's just a punch, and then you've really felt something. And I think for all the shorts that are making their way through the documentary ranks this year, they all tell a great focused story. And you don't need a feature length. You don't need that longer length. Sometimes that can really help the message of the film too, because let's face it, a lot of people don't have the time or the suitability to get a great message in 2 hours or even an hour and 30 minutes. But if you give them a 15 or a 20 or a 30-minute short or a 40-minute short, 40 is the limit. 40 is like, it's got to be shorter than 40 if you're going to be playing in the Oscar zone. But that limits you in a really good way. It keeps you from overtelling your story. It makes you focus on what's important in your story. And I almost think sometimes if you've got a great story, it focuses it and makes it more intense an experience. So I love the format. It's a great challenge as an editor and as a producer to try to really get your story honed down. So yeah, kudos to shorts. I'm a big fan of shorts.
And Sharon, how about you?
Well, Cynthia's done shorts before, and I've done shorts, and we really do like the challenge of that format. So we always conceived of it as a short, though, like Doug was saying, we had so much footage. We could have done a feature, and we thought about it at times, but we just said, no, we're going to stay committed to the short. And in our case in particular, which was what was challenging, was that we knew that we wanted to include more than one character, because generally, it's in a short, it's if you're only following one character, it may be a little less confusing and a little easier to manage. But since we were telling the story about Americans, we knew that we couldn't tell the story of one American, so we needed it to be diverse. So that was a particular challenge in this short for us.
And I think another major challenge for short films has always been exposure and who's going to see them. And I'm curious to know from each of you, how do you think things have evolved over the years and in favor of short films? Three of you are, on major streaming platforms right now. And I think that plays a big hand in how exposed your films are. Peter, maybe I'll start with you and what your partnership with Apple TV Plus has done for your film.
Well, I mean, it's a huge, I feel hugely fortunate, and it's a great honor to be partnered with Apple TV Plus. I mean, it's in a nutshell means that, immediately our film has the potential to be viewed by anybody in, more or less the whole wide world. So it's it's as simple as that, really. It's a dream. It's a dream come true to be partnered up with someone who can just do that and reach everyone. And I guess that's always the hope with one's film, is that one might reach anyone in the everyone in the world. So it's a great privilege.
And Sharon, for a Nat Geo film, you have access then to Disney Plus and Hulu. So what has that been like compared to other experiences you've had in the past?
Yeah, I feel like it's just amazing because there's so much of a greater appetite for shorts now that the streamers have been putting them out there. And, it's not just something that you go and see at a film festival. It's something that you can go see. And then when you tell someone you can watch this, it's only 35 minutes, or if it's a 12-minute, you can just go see this. I feel like that's really helped to get people to the exposure. And I know I had a film once of 4 years ago that was on CNN. Great big story. And in the first year, it got 16 million views. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. It would have been lost in some, film festival years ago.
Right. And Doug, how about you with Netflix?
Well, first of all, I'm so happy to work with Netflix again. We've had a very successful run with a previous short that I worked with them on. And the great thing about this film being a short and having this window with Netflix globally is that I've always hoped that this story would be something that a whole family could sit down and share together. And that it's like the greatest bedtime story. And bedtime stories, you can't do a bedtime story for an hour and a half, but you can do one in like 30, 40 minutes. You can keep a kid's attention, you can keep a family together and have them experience this family story. And what's beautiful is we're getting responses like that. I love that we're getting emails and texts and things from people around the world now who are sharing it with their kids. They're sharing it with their elders, and they all sit together and they watch a movie that moves them all. I mean, that to me is the greatest honor as a filmmaker, is that you can bring people together like that. Kartiki she just texted me a little while ago, a drawing by a 4-year-old of I think a friend in India, and now the 4-year-old is obsessively drawing elephants. I'm just so happy about that. That's what you live for as a filmmaker. So yeah, we love, and Netflix has understood that. They put it out in a really great way. So it's been a great team effort. I think we've had nothing but great feelings together.
And Nils, even for you, live action films can be a little different, especially non-English. And I'm curious, what tools are you able to use? Because even now that we're in a different age where you're on Instagram. I mean, there's so much self-promoting that someone can do. You know, what tools are to your benefit that wouldn't have been there for you 15 years ago?
It's definitely, I'd say, connecting with all the people through the internet, through like having these Zoom conversations, and being able probably to just send the link around of the film, because they're like, people can decide if they have the time to watch it like film, and also rewatch it or watch a certain scene or do anything like that. I just know the stories from 30-40 years ago where people really had their short film and had those film rolls they were walking around with from festival to festival, and were hoping that the people who might help them do the next film were present and they could talk to them about that. But it was really the only chance, if it was not shown in TV, to show a short film. And I really, myself, I'm watching all these short films that are now available and appreciate, like, we don't have that yet. We don't have the film on a platform yet, but it's like, coming back to your main question, it's great to have these other films that normally wouldn't make it to the cinema, where you just buy the ticket for the cinema, but just to film festivals, available somewhere else, where really someone can tell you, okay, there's a great film out there about this specific thing, and it dives into that topic, and it's very short because it doesn't have to be longer, and to see that. So I think in general, it's great that there's so much more diversity nowadays, like regarding the topics, but also the lengths of the films. That's great. And for us, yeah, there's definitely a similar thing for self-promoting, about these chances to get people, to get to know people through the internet, through Instagram, to show around the links. Yeah. So I think that's great. And we already are talking to people we would have never gone in touch to, because they wouldn't have the time to just meet us live and start a conversation about what's next, because there are definitely projects we want to do next, and we want to connect to the whole world, because filmmaking is a team effort, and it's great to connect to as many people and passionate people as possible.
What are some behind the scenes stories or scenes that you may have had to cut to make sure you got your timeline, or just funny stories about the process? I'll start with you, Peter. What did you and Charlie talk about, and what fun stories do you have about working on that film together?
You know, I was just listening to Doug and Sharon with envy at the idea of having feature length worth of footage to cut down to a short film. And obviously with animation, that's not an option. It's, you have it's such laborious work, and you can't afford to animate. Generally, you can't afford to animate stuff that you're not going to include in the film. So it's obviously, you have to plan the thing to a hair's breadth. In storyboard and animatic. Also, once it goes into animation production, there's no wastage, or there's little wastage as possible. Few handles of a few frames on either side of any given shot. So it's I guess a different kettle of fish. And also there were two or three. There's one moment. Early on there was a kind of a fun moment with when the mole actually meets some actual cake quite early in the film, and obviously, and in the end, do I give a spoiler? Well, I don't know. Does it? In the end, something else happens. So there were little ideas that come and go, and would have changed the flavor of things, I guess. But through these sort of wonderful discussions we all had, things fell by the wayside. It was changed shape, and we ended up with the thing we ended up with, I guess.
Sharon, how about for you? Was there anything that was painful to cut?
Oh, so much. We had like full characters and character arcs that we had to cut. There was a guy, Malenko, who was from Serbia and a prisoner of war. And he had this horrific story about being tortured and coming here. And he was known at the factory as the candy man, because every weekend he would go and buy candy at this candy store, and we followed him and we shot it. And then he would sort the candy into like with the sections of the flag factory that he would think would want those candies. And then he would walk through in the morning and go to everybody's desk and then give them candy every single day. And so his story, he had such a sweet story. We followed a woman from Mexico who's all her 3 kids went into the military, and one showed up and surprised her one day, coming in from San Diego, and she wanted to become a citizen for them. And so there were so many stories. And Sugar Ray, we could never fit this in, but he talked about, which I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised, but he wanted, if he was going to fly a flag, it would be the Bucks flag at his house. And he would get a huge Bucks flag and fly it at his house, but that would be the only flag. And it was funny the way he told it. And we just didn't have the tonal space to put that in anywhere. So yeah, those things kind of kill you.
And Doc, how about you? As an editor as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest, and Sharon obviously has been through this too. What you see on screen is about 2% of what you went out and got. And that's, in a way, that's good though, because that short format, going back to that, it forces you to make really hard choices, and those choices will make your film stronger, because there are great scenes. And on their own, as a scene, you'd watch it and go, oh, that's fantastic. But then when you play it in the film, does it contribute to the feel of the entire film? With Elephant Whisperers, we had interviews with experts and zoologists and climate people, and it's like, that's not the film we're making. We're making a family story about these 2 amazing people and these beautiful baby elephants. And when you focus in, when you tell a pure story like that, that's how you get the purity of a short, and what I love, what Sharon was talking about, is these scenes, you fall in love with them and they're in the film, and the film is like 2 hours long, and you say, no, we're not making a feature, we're going to pull it back, and it's going to be stronger because of that. And I mean, I obviously Flagmakers is great, and Elephant Whispers, we went through that again and again, and we had to really pick what tells our story. It's a unique thing to documentary, because I know for Peter, you don't animate 90 extra hours of stuff. That's not on the table. But you have to pick in the storyboarding process, right? And you have to really be careful to put only the things that'll tell your story really well. Same thing with a short. I mean, Nils, your film, I'm sure you had to make some choices in the script about like that. We don't need that detail, that line of dialogue. You don't need that. We go through the same thing, but we don't know what our script is until we get in the edit room. So the editing process is so painful and powerful for us. Yeah, it's great though. It ends up making really strong films.
Mm-hmm.
And Nils, we'll close out with you.
Yeah, funny enough, I kind of had a moment like in the very end of the post-production, like Doug explained, or Sharon, that was kind of documentary like, because even though it's a live action short film, we post-produced the whole thing to 37 minutes, and the film that's now out there is 30 minutes. And I'm so happy that the whole team didn't just kill me, because it was such a big team effort. They, like, almost no one was paid. They had so much over hours. They were working, doing the set design. The visual effects person did so many visual effects there. And then when it all came together, because we never made a science fiction film before, and there was so much technical stuff in there, we didn't have like a team in the back that could pre-visualize everything. We kind of found some tricks to find out what it could feel like if the Earth is there, but we didn't quite know. And the full animations of the spaceship landing, we didn't exactly know what it looks like. And then when everything was finished, including the music, including the mixing, we saw, or I had the feeling, okay, it is great and it's poetic, but as Doug said, to come back to this core, that this is a story about a boy and his mother, and about family conflict, and that are these moments where the story turns around and there's desperation and hope. it really felt like I have to shorten down the breaks in between and some scenes to have this impact and come back to the story and not kind of exploit what we made there, and to please probably some fans of very slow films, but to get back the energy of the actual story and stay true to the idea that we don't do that to impress people by visual effects, but have this energy there and throw everything out that hasn't got to be there to tell this story about a boy who loses hope about his future. So yeah, there was a lot of editing in the end after everything seemed to have been done.
Well, congratulations to all of you. Everyone can check out Almost Home from Nils Keller. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse is on Apple TV+. The Elephant Whisperers is on Netflix, and The Flagmakers is on Hulu and Disney+. Best of luck to each of you at the upcoming Oscar nominations. We hope we'll see all of you at that red carpet. And thanks for joining Gold Derby's Film Shorts panel today.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
And
Thank you so much.